Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Steven the Laggy Gamer here. Kind of doing a different style video today. You're going to be seeing a discussion video on Lords of the Fallen, but instead of me being in front of the camera, I'm just going to have some gameplay footage of the game here on the screen. You know, I got this capture card, and I kind of wanted to do some stuff with the capture card because I hardly ever use it, and those things ain't cheap, and it's just like sitting here going to waste. And secondly, you know, the lighting in my house is kind of poor. I just don't have a lot of windows or open areas, so just lighting in here is just very bad. And my orange glowing lights they don't provide for good footage like in a video. So we're going to test this out and see how it works. And just me voicing over some gameplay of Lords of the Fallen that you'll be seeing. But yeah, anyway, Lords of the Fallen, a game that I was looking forward to here the past couple months. It did sneak up on me. I didn't really find out too much about it till the summertime, late summer, and what I started to see with it really looked like a Dark Souls game, like a Souls clone kind of thing. And me being the big fan of Dark Souls that I am, you know, I can't have enough of that kind of stuff. And we have Bloodborne coming out in January, February, around that time. I can't really remember the release date. And I figured, you know what, Lords of the Fallen, October, yeah, let's give it a go. Or was it the end of September? I'm trying to remember when that game came out. Anyways, let's give it a go. You know, I'll have something to hold me off between now and Bloodborne. And just from what I had seen, the little glimpses of it, the combat was looking Dark Soulish, the gameplay and such. I didn't know too much about the story, but let's go ahead and just dive into it here. The story. You pretty much just follow this gentleman named Harkin, who was a prisoner pretty much, and he was released from prison to save the world from these demons and other monsters and stuff. The reason he is set free is kind of unclear until the end of the game. You never really know why you never really know why he was even in prison in the first place, why he was locked up. He keeps running into these characters throughout, though, explaining to him, I can't believe I'm seeing you out of prison for what you've done. But you never really know what he does. And then in the end, near the game, it gives kind of a twist ending, or it tries to throw a twist at you. But the impact isn't that great. It does have multiple endings on choices that you make near the end of the game. Depending on what choices you make, can determine the ending you get. So that's a pretty neat feature to be able to have multiple endings. But other than that, the story, it wasn't really a strong point, you know. A lot of people have complaints with the Dark Souls series and its ambiguity, how the story is pretty much what you can find out from items and what very little dialogue is spoken in it. And I really enjoyed that with the Soul series. This game, on the other hand, just literally tries to tell you its story through cutscenes, through audio logs, and you know, while that's there and it's presenting it to you in a normal fashion, it doesn't have the same impact to me as a Souls game. The way you can create this whole world, this online community and stuff just by digging and figuring things out. And having the story right in front of you isn't a bad thing, but the story wasn't all that interesting, so it wasn't too good. The story in, say, a Souls game, from what we put together, is amazing. But I mean, the story will get you by, but what really hooked me for this game is its gameplay. That's why I like the Souls games. They're challenging, the gameplay is difficult and rewarding. This game, I was getting these pre-notions that it wasn't going to be that hard. It was more of an easy Souls game, or a light Souls is what people are saying. Let me tell you, starting off with Lords of the Fallen, it was not light Souls to me. I was dying a lot. It was very difficult trying to get used to this new combat system, because even though it is like a Souls game, it's very much different. And the main reason that is because the game feels heavier. Everything feels heavy. It's more of this medieval armor type setting vibe, and your armor feels heavy, especially if you're wearing heavy armor. You're just heavy. You can't really roll well. It's a fat roll, and it's very different. It's got the main stays that are in a Souls game or a combat system like that. You have your lock-on system, so you can strafe around the enemies. You have your strong attack with the R1 and your stronger attack your regular attack with R1 and your strong attack with R2. You have your block with L1, and L2 will even, depending on the type of shield you have, will either do a parry, a shield break, or a super defense behind a tower shield. And then you have your dodge roll, mapped to, I believe, was circle button on PS3 or X, one or the other. Then you have your potions that you drink if your health gets too low, or you can eat your magic crystals to get your MP back up, and so on and so forth. But the game, while the combat system was built the same, it just felt different because of the weightiness, and especially in the rolling. In Dark Souls, if you time your roll just perfect, it can look like the weapon is supposed to hit you, but for some reason it doesn't. You're still rolling through it. In this game, if I roll and the weapon's anywhere near me, it still hits me. So it kind of seems like the purpose of the roll, I don't even see the purpose in it because I'm still getting hit by whatever's being shot at me or swung at me. It felt like the arrows in this game would just literally home on to your target. If you were going left or right, it would look like they would turn right into you, which is really weird. I never heard of an arrow that turns in the air. But yeah, it just took some getting used to, because in Dark Souls I would love to play as a dex build rolling dodging character, two-handed, just dodging and hitting. That's how I love to play that game. In this game, I started off as a warrior build with heavy armor and tried with a shield and a one-handed sword, but I didn't like my damage output that much. Now the way the game's built is you have a multitude of weapons you can choose from and a bunch of armor you can choose from. You start the game off either picking from 3 sets of kind of skill trees, spell trees, or 3 class builds. You have your rogue build, you have your cleric build, and your warrior build. Warriors wear the heavy armor, clerics medium, rogues light armor. All kind of defining to their class. And then there's the spell trees that kind of go with each class as well. There's a brawler tree, there's like a spell casting tree, then the rogue has its kind of own tree. Now all these kind of coincide with each kind of class. But the warrior, the way I played him at first was just find heavy armor and try to dodge and roll and use his sword and shield to kind of battle off these enemies. Just kind of turtling it for a while. But like I said, the sword just would not do enough damage for me. So I eventually just switched it all up. I kind of started wearing a hybrid of medium and heavy armor with a two-handed sword, carrying it with 2 hands and not even using a shield. This allowed me to be able to kind of do some dodge rolling, kind of like a medium roll, with doing a lot of damage output with my two-handed weapon. Now the downsides in something like that, you have to weigh. Do you want to be a quick character that uses little stamina to do a bunch of strikes? Or like I was playing, I was using a two-handed weapon which used a great deal of my stamina before I could recover. You just gotta kind of weigh how your playstyle is. The game still opens up to a majority of playstyles. But as you get around the halfway point or even further into the game, your character really starts to become overpowered. At least my warrior did with this two-handed sword. This game also implements a kind of like a timing system when you're swinging your sword, and you might see it on some of the gameplay footage, that when you hit R1, if you hit it again right at the perfect moment, it kind of cuts the stamina you use by a great deal. That way you could actually get in more swings. I think the damage output goes up too. So instead of just getting possibly just 2 swings in, if I do perfect timing, I might be able to get 3, maybe 4 swings in on an enemy with my two-handed weapon, which is amazing. So it really has this kind of risk-reward thing with timing and stuff like that. The gameplay also features its mechanic where you build experience from killing enemies, completing some side quests, and as you do that, you gain experience. Now you can either hold on to this experience and increase your odds of a item dropping, a rare like weapon or something dropping from an enemy if you hang on to it. But if you die, your experience will sit there. and of course you get from the checkpoint to try to make it back. If you die on your way back to that experience, you're going to lose it all. So it really gives this risk-reward system in trying that out. The experience, if you die, say at a boss, if you die and your experience is sitting there, you get back to the boss, it will also heal you while you're doing this boss fight. So that's another thing you can, if it was a tough, challenging fight and you think you might need that healing ability from the experience that came out of you, you can sit there and hover over top of it and just hack away at enemies while getting healed, or hack at the boss. Or you can pick it up and keep all that experience, because as it's healing you, that experience is slowly draining away. If you had 20k experience, you'll start to see it slowly tick down to 19, to 18, and eventually you're going to want to pick that stuff up. So, and that's a really cool system it had in there with that. I really enjoyed that. The way this game is a lot easier, like I said, about the halfway point, you start getting some good gear. It's because of the spells. You start to put points, use your experience to unlock some skill points to put into your spells. And there is one spell in the warrior tree called Rage that pretty much just makes the game just extremely easy, especially the boss fights. You get to a boss fight, most of them have about 3 or 4 phases you go through in the fight. You'll see these little dot marks in the health bar kind of splitting up the phases, and as you wear down their health, you'll see like a little thing happen to the boss where they start doing something different to indicate that you went to the next phase. What would happen is I would just hit this spell for rage mode, which means I have unlimited stamina for a set amount of time. So I'm just sitting there wailing with this beast of a two-handed sword on this boss character just non-stop. And most of the time I could beat a boss fight using rage mode 2 to 3 times. I could sit there, get it to the first, and maybe halfway through its second phase, hitting that rage mode, let my MP charge up a little bit, activate rage mode again, and just wail on the boss again. That made the game so easy, that one spell, that it pretty much broke the game as far as the difficulty with any bosses. So if you want to challenge yourself, I'd recommend not using the rage. If you can, just try to beat a boss without even using it. That would be a good test. There's also the checkpoint system. The way it works kind of makes the game a ton easier than a Souls game. In Souls, it has the bonfire system that kind of works as a checkpoint. You get to the bonfire, it'll restock your potions, but the risk you take at sitting at the bonfire means you just activated all the enemies to respawn again, and you have to work through all of them. In Lords of the Fallen, that does not happen. You can sit at these checkpoints to get your health potions back, but the enemies will not respawn back. They will stay dead. The only time the enemies will respawn is if you die. That is when the enemies respawn back on the map. So you literally could go through the whole game without ever having to run into another enemy again. Or maybe if you go through a door or a checkpoint system, that might activate it too. I want to say if you go inside and back outside of the building, that might respawn enemies, but not 100% sure on that one. But that did make the game really easy. With all that said, though, I really did enjoy the combat, and I had a good time with it. I was hooked on it. It was a lot of fun. It was a blast learning this new system and incorporating these spells, and it was good to have something just to hold off until Bloodborne kind of comes out. And I thought it did really well. Visually, this game just looks stunning. I love the setting in this medieval type world. It's got, people have compared it to so many things, like a Darksiders mixed with like Dark Souls, mixed with maybe even The Witcher. I think the people who worked on it, one of the guys is from The Witcher people who used to work on that series, so you can definitely see vibes of that in there. I just love the big hulking armor and the armor designs. They just looked awesome. Some of the weapons looked really cool with fire around them, like fire swords and stuff. Really, really neat designs and stuff they incorporated in it. And like I said, the world just looked beautiful. The soundtrack fit perfectly with the game. To my surprise, the game actually did come with a soundtrack on the inside of it, so that was really cool that came with the game, because I've been listening to that and I really enjoy it. So Like I said, visually it was great. The gameplay, after getting used to it, was solid. The game was a lot easier than I would thought it was going to be, and that's my phone ringing. I'm sorry. The game was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be after it started, but it still is challenging. If I would say this is the way, if you haven't played a Souls game, or a Souls game might be too intimidating for you, go ahead and give Lords of the Fallen a try. This is a good entryway into a said series like this, because it does get very easy, and it is still rewarding though, because you can still die in the game. I found myself using potions a lot and running back to a checkpoint just to get those potions back. But that's kind of where the easier factor comes in, those checkpoints and the enemies not respawning. Because I know it can get irritating in a Souls game, sitting at a bonfire to get your potions, and you gotta clear the whole map again. So I would say go ahead and give this a try if this would be your first adventure into something like that, or if you found Souls too hard. Another downside of the game was only 12 hours. I beat this game in 12 hours, and I really thought it was going to be about a 17, 18-hour game, but it wasn't, and I did most of the stuff. So it could be just because I'm used to those type of games. Maybe that's why I got through it. I'm not sure. But it was still a great 12-hour experience. It does have a New Game Plus and a New Game Plus Plus that I will likely play through. I actually just started the New Game Plus mode the other day, and as soon as I loaded into it, it activated some type of glitch where I had unlimited stamina. So unlimited stamina playing through New Game Plus really makes the game super easy. Now, I did exit out to restart to see if it would take it away, and it did. So luckily that went away, so the game wouldn't be broken for me from here on out. But you do have those options if you do want to continue on. Maybe miss and do some of the side quests you missed in the first one. So that's pretty much it. If you are a fan of a Souls game, it's not really huge open world. It's a pretty linear game following a path. They pretty much guide you where you need to go. Further on in the game, the world is kind of open to your liking, so you can just run around throughout how you want to, since all the doors are open. But basically, there will be locked doors you run into, and it'll pretty much guide you to where you need to go to the next phase in the game. But still, a great experience, a lot of fun, cool enemy design, cool world design, and I had a good time with it. So, $60 game, maybe not for most people, but when it gets down to that 30 used price or around there, I would highly recommend just giving it a try. And hey, if you're friends with me on PlayStation 4 with the new Share Play feature, just let me know and I can let you play it for an hour, because I've already done that for a couple people. So just shoot me your name, and yeah, I'll be more than happy to let you play the game and just try it out that way. But I guess that's about it for this one. Hopefully this video comes out okay. If you have any other questions about Lords of the Fallen that I may not have covered in this discussion, feel free to leave a comment or just send me a message below, whatever you want to do. So that's about it for this new test of this kind of a discussion. So let me know what you guys think about it. Laggy Gamer, and I'm lagging out.